Hello out there in podcast land. This is Kryptonite Dragon from TrophiesonPSN, and we are here bringing you another podcast, our weekly podcast every Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Today we will be joined by Dante Zero
Hello.
and Gtamen.
Hello.
And let's start off with our typical announcements. This week, our game of the week from the arcade is a classic that's been around for quite a long time. It is a game that I've seen a lot of people play. I myself haven't played too much of it on the site, but I have played it before in the past. And it is Bloons Tower Defense 4. I recommend everyone check that out. It's a tower defense game. For those of you not familiar with tower defense games, you basically put in guns and things in various locations. You try to strategically block, in this case, balloons from getting by and getting to your tower. And pretty fun little game. There's various levels. I think we probably have tower defense 1 through 4. And if you want to check that out, it's a cool little game. Quite the time waster on that one. And we can see from the screenshot there that Scrubs has the top score. Yet another one, Dante, I don't have the top score in. Going to have to fix that.
Yeah, you keep saying that every week, and
I know.
I'm
What's
eager
with
to
that?
go and see you beat one of those scores, so that when I put it up on the forum after the podcast, I can see your name in there.
Just got to beat me down. So the podcast, like I said, live every Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern. And we'll kick things off today with very little site news. I'm just going to say that we are working hard on moving our servers very soon. And we're looking into some very serious chat software once we do that. And, of course, we've still continued to add some of the subscription benefits for those of you that will wish to upgrade your account a little bit. You'll have some larger mailboxes, some much more access and control and customizations. You'll have that video music player on your profile, a bunch of other things like that. So keep looking for all those things. We just need a little bit of time here to move the server, get things pumped up, get things working at a faster speed. So I just ask you to bear with us, and we will get there. So I'll kick that right off into talking about we've got a busy week coming with some releases. But this week we're going to focus on a lot of the GTA stuff that you've heard about. And we're going to skip over some of that Black Ops stuff, and hopefully this next podcast we'll talk a lot more about that once we've all got a chance to get some hands-on with it. And today is going to be more GTA. Right, GTA men? Just like you say, more GTA.
Yeah.
Before we jump into that, though, let's have Dante tell us what his recommended game of the week is. Tell us a little bit about the poll he had. And as well as the next poll coming up. We'll be posting polls from now on, and to get a little bit of feedback about the podcast and to get some input from members on what they want to see. So let's turn this over to Dante. Dante.
Well, first up, I'll tackle the pick of the week. Last week we went with a V game, which was Assassin's Creed Liberation. This week we're going with another PS Vita game as well that just launched recently. It's been developed by Xseed, which is Sony's first-party studio for mobile games. And the game in question is Smart As for the PlayStation Vita. Essentially what the game is it's a brain training game. It has a lot of puzzles to do with logic, language, arithmetic, and so on. But what sort of makes this a great game isn't so much the puzzles themselves, it's the feature set in terms of socialising. So for example, if you get a high score, you can post that to Facebook or Twitter, but it also allows you to track your progress. So for example, you can set your location to somewhere, in this case in the UK. It will tell you who the smartest people are in that town or city. You then can check it out in terms of how you vary within, how you rank within the country, and then how your country ranks within its continent and against the rest of the world. So it's got a lot of amazing little feature sets to it, and it's actually narrated by John Cleese. For the Americans that don't know who John Cleese is, he's one of the original members of Monty Python. So yeah, it's a very high caliber game, and it's definitely worth picking up if you've got a PlayStation V. It's priced around about £20, or I think for US that's about $25. So it is a little bargain to pick up and definitely worth purchasing.
So let me get this right. I can, if I live in a small town, I can convince myself that I'm pretty smart.
My brains.
Gtamen's like, do I get to shoot anyone in it? Is there RPGs in it, Dante?
Yeah.
No, unfortunately not. Be nice if there were.
The only thing I want to know, smartass, is I just want to know how many bullets I need to kill someone. That's all I want to know.
But it does have interesting sort of points in the fact that whenever you actually load up the game and you go to do your daily brain training, it asks you like certain random equations. Well, before you actually start puzzles, so it will go, do you like dance music or rock music? So then you can pick the answer that applies to you, and then as you complete the logic puzzles, it will tell you whether or not you're smarter than the average person that likes the same thing as you. And you can also check as to, in the stats and stuff online, as to whether or not people who prefer dance music are actually smarter as a whole than people that prefer rock music as well. So you've got like loads of little hidden stats tracking tools in it, and
I'm going to say that I don't agree with that, because people who listen to rock music actually have taste of music.
Okay, Dante. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. You're still having some technical difficulties again this week. Gtamen sounds very clear, but I don't know about you.
Let's just not go into that too much.
You tried putting a wire to your computer and like holding it up in the air?
Sorry, I lost you guys for a minute there.
Try an old television antenna and just hold it up real high in the air and put your finger in like one of the sockets or something on your computer. See what we can do. We gotta do something with you, man.
Well, I can hear you guys loud and clear.
I know something. Doesn't have to do with internet, though.
So we probably talk about the public rap. If you guys can hear me, okay?
Barely.
Right. Let me just have a look. You guys might lose me, so if you guys want to go into GTA stuff, and I'll work on my connection and try and jump back in as soon as I can.
Okay.
That works. Now, Gtamen,
Won't hear me complain switching.
you're obviously our go-to guy for all things Grand Theft Auto. Why don't we just let you lead in and tell us what you think it's important for everyone to know about the upcoming GTA 5. There's a lot of stuff's been released. I noticed, on the other site that you work on, you also covered in detail a lot of the stuff that's coming. Why don't you tell us what we need to know? What's kind of a little bit shocking to you? Even some of the things you think maybe should have been included that weren't. Anything like that. You gotta bear with us, folks. We're having some technical difficulties again. Are you there?
I am.
Killing me.
Yeah.
You should let me
We're
call you,
getting
man.
interesting.
Dante defines it as mega issues.
Are we still broadcasting live?
We appear to still be broadcasting live, even though we were
I think
without
there are some
even though we were
central.
without everyone.
Right, okay.
I think there are some Saints Row fanboys trying to ruin our podcast.
Maybe.
It's typical. As soon as we start talking about GTA.
Yeah.
Sabotage.
Stuff gets interested. People get butthurt and sabotage everything.
Yeah, well, THQ are going down the pan of late, aren't they? They're looking for more finance, so let's all just blame it on them.
Yeah.
Right, so we are still live. We're back. We had some technical issues. We should probably restart with the GTA stuff again.
Yeah, you guys are more clear right now. No interruptions and stuff. So
Yeah.
hopefully stuff goes right now.
All right, GTA man, let's have you take it away and tell us some GTA stuff.
All right.
What do we want to know?
Well, last Thursday, or actually, well, you want to know a lot. Thursday, Game Informer came out with the GTA 5 issue, which gave less information than I originally thought. It was like how they actually went to work and how long they've been doing it and all the stuff. But there were some amazing stuff that you don't really expect from a GTA title. First and foremost, people are like, how big is the map? Well, the map is bigger than Hold Your Horses right now. GTA 4, Red Dead Redemption, and San Andreas combined with room to spare. But that is with interiors and the outside. So you will think like, for example, in San Andreas, you have the gym and Liberty City and all that sort of stuff. Then Mount is back. Detailed undersea, a seafloor, a military base, fine woods, and yoga, triathlons, jet skiing, base jumping, tennis, golf. What ammunition is back? That in GTA 4 you had those underground. No one shall buy guns, but we go underground, so everyone can still buy a shit ton of RPGs and blow up every vehicle we see in sight. But now it's back, so that's cool because it had this hilarious commercials like in San Andreas with they got your wife, well just buy a gun and shoot them. And the story is where it gets good. You now have three different protagonists: Michael, Trevor, and Franklin. Franklin is the African American. Trevor is the older bald guy, and Michael is the guy we saw on the trailer that said, "Why did I move here? Because it was the weather." Which makes a lot of people think, how are they going to do that with the missions and stuff? Well, they showed an example to the guys of Game Informer giving a mission. So what they did is, let's say you need to go to a bank. What they do is you need a chopper, cover fire, and you need a guy that actually goes and rob the place. So you have Franklin controlling the chopper, Trevor doing the sniper support, and Michael doing the actual action thing. So what you can do is you can switch it at any time between the characters, also outside of the mission. And when you do it outside of the mission, you can actually put some sort of stuff. For example, like you're just walking down the street with Franklin and you decide, oh, let's see what's Michael doing, and Michael get actually attacked by some gang or something. So what you can actually think about it for an example is it's basically a bit like Sims. You just control one, and the rest goes like washing his hair and stuff. It's happened in GTA, but you get the meaning. But in missions, let's say Franklin is doing helicopter stuff, like I said, and when you select Franklin, you have to control the helicopter and make sure it's steady. When you're Michael, you have to rope down and just kill all the guys. And when you're, let's see, and then there's Trevor, and you can actually snipe the guys and make sure everyone is safe. So, but it doesn't mean that if you choose to be Franklin, that you have to be Franklin all the time. You can just switch between everyone. For example, you play a minute in the chopper with Franklin, and then you switch to Michael to get everyone to in safety and all that stuff. Are we having connection issues, or are we still good?
We're still good as far
We're
as
still
I
good.
Okay. Because the Skype chat was blowing up with, oh my god, I'm gonna die! So,
Yeah, shit happens. We're all over the different corners of the world here, so it's I don't have
yeah.
the answer. So but what you're telling me are each of the characters do they have like a different skill set? Is like Trevor
Yes.
good at sniping, and then someone else is good for street fights, and so you're going to want to pick your characters based on what missions you do, or regardless you're going to have them
No,
involved in
because
each mission.
you can
just
because
because
everyone
has
has
its own art. This story will be more focused on all the heists. You know, like in Vice City, the mission, the job. You remember that? That you were that you excuse me, robbed the bank. But before that, you do all the preparations in the Malibu side missions,
Mhm.
like the driver and shooters, that sort of stuff. And in GTA 4, the three-leaf cover mission. So it will be focused on more heist stuff. And as the characters, you can actually, like you had in Red Dead Redemption, you could be like the guy saving a granny's purse, or the bad guy grabbing the granny's purse, grabbing a tractor, rolling over the granny, then teabag the granny, and then just run away laughing.
Okay.
Teabagging a granny.
Note to all the granny lovers out there, I love my granny, don't hate on me, please. Please, don't.
So
Also, if you don't like girls, I will not say that you do, then there will be no girlfriends in GTA 5 because, well, Michael actually has a family. Trevor is too busy being the psychopath, blowing everything up, and Franklin is too busy being the young gangster trying to get to the top. So, and everyone also has his own pair of friends. So, like Trevor, who's the psychopath, has his best buddy, Mr. Oh my God, look at me! I get all of explosives. Let's blow some stuff.
so there's
When there's Michael, who has more like the serious friends, and Franklin his homies. And also something that's pretty cool is that Roman will not call you anymore to go bowling.
yeah, that's what I was going to say. So there's no dates at the bowling alley then on this one.
No, but you do have you do have friends. How that's gonna work, they did not really tell that yet. But in GTA 4, you had your phone, where basically you get missions through your phone. You get text messages saying, "Hi, I'm fat, and I'm a funny guy, and you go work for me now." So now everything goes more through the map. For example, you get a mission, maybe like in GTA 3, you had the pagers and whatever. Now it just shows up on the map. Like if you want to go with friends and stuff, you probably have to go and meet them there. There wasn't announced, but I think that's going to be that way.
So there's not even a phone in this one then?
There is a phone, but it's not as focused on using the phone as there was in GTA 4, where you would get random calls and stuff. They didn't really give too many details on it, but what they did say is that everything is more on the map now instead of really focusing on the phone itself.
Huh.
Do you see that? I was going to say, do you see that as a step backwards or a step forwards? Because when GTA 4 first launched, obviously the phone was a big part of that. I remember reading a couple of magazines back before GTA 4 launched, and they said, this is one of the big features. We're really looking forward to it. And I just wonder, if you take that away a bit, what was the point of doing it in the first place? And is that not stepping backwards? Why not take the phone feature and build upon it so it becomes useful as opposed to simplifying it?
Well, you can actually go on the internet on your phone now, so you don't have to go to the internet cafe anymore. And to come back at your argument, in GTA 4, for example, you had different kind of dialogues. For example, you would call little Jacob, and he would have his phone and he'll say, "Yeah, I'm busy, call me back." But if you didn't do that, you would miss out on that. So if you don't push too much on using the phone, then you will not miss out as much of the dialogue as you would if you did.
Yeah.
So
it'll be interesting to see how they replace all that.
I don't know. Oh yeah.
So kind of brings me on to my next question, really, because we were talking about the three main characters and obviously how you would switch between them. I don't know, from the information I've sort of read through and seen on GTA 5, it seems like it's a very weird project for Rockstar, because they're trying to build a game that gives you the same experience you would expect from, say, I don't know, like an MMO or something, where you can switch between characters and it's always an ongoing world, and giving the player the option to drop into one character's shoes and then drop into another's. And that's the sort of thing you would find in co-op. And I know me and you were talking about this the other day, Nick. Does that not seem to you a bit of a waste in respect of why then make that only applicable to single player? Why not make it a three-player co-op game where each interaction, is done online, which I think personally would be better for it. In the same way that, say, Resident Evil 6 had 6 different characters, and at some point their stories would cross over. So given the information we got, which do you think would be better?
The thing is that the first thing I thought when I saw the three protagonists thing, I thought that has to be co-op. Because if there's co-op, what would be more perfect than actually having three guys, and everyone has his own guy instead of just the regular stuff like in Uncharted. That actually gave a new sort of dimension to it. As for the single player, I think it will work because it gives more motivation to actually play the game multiple times. It gives that replay value, as you English call it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's so beautifully.
Yeah, it could give replay value. I think.
I don't know, it just seems.
Yeah, Dante. I mean, you tell me. I mean,
it just seems such a strange thing.
What you're really hitting on there is like, you talk about like they're playing themselves kind of when you're not attending to them. It's almost like there's not as much value in like, Nico, like getting to know someone and feeling more of the story from like one person and learning his background as you go along and all that. So it could take away some from the overall of getting into it with one character, because now you've got three. And the other extreme end of that, a lot of times, like you were talking about, Dante, with an RPG, is you can also pick your character and you can pick your traits from, if they're good at explosives, if they're good at, sniping or whatnot. It seems like they kind of went like kind of right in the middle there, and it makes you wonder if they didn't have plans to do something with multiplayer with that.
It's fascinating to explore because, it's been, about 4 years since we had the last one, and it just seems that in certain areas they've taken a step back, and in other areas they're sort of pushing boundaries, but there doesn't seem to be, like with previous Grand Theft Auto reveals and so on, there always seems to be a definitive direction that Rockstar have taken the game, and that's come across clear in the reveals months beforehand. But I don't know, having read through the GTA 5 stuff, it's like Rockstar are at kind of a crossroads with GTA in the fact that they're not sure what direction they really want to take it, so they're going to try and put as much as they can and hope that it sort of works. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, but it gives more variety as well. I think that it has more stories. I mean, I don't know. I am faithful. Most of all, I'm interested because I don't know how it's really going to play out. We now know that there are three protagonists, but what they're a bit how they're alike. But that's actually it. We don't have any in-depth stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I said to you, Nick, about this the other day, didn't I? Which was, in terms of reveals, it was 20, I think it was something like 23 pages in terms of the Game Informer magazine, and they didn't really go too much into detail about the game. It was more about the ethos of the development process of the actual game, although they did throw in a few sort of minor reveals in there, obviously being the main characters and stuff. I do wonder though if GTA 5 is one of those games that needs a bit more time to cook. We've been waiting, anticipating eagerly for four or so years now, and with all the financial troubles that Take-Two are having, I just wonder if that at some point Take-Two had to go to them and say, look, we can't have a 6-year development cycle on this. If we get to year 4 and you've got a workable game, then you need to stick it out there, because if not, we're going to be financially in trouble. I wonder if that had anything to play with regards to the development of GTA 5. What do you guys think on that?
Well, I actually got the fact that Take-Two actually made some good profit last quarter. So it's not going that bad with because the shareholder actually got positive news, and that the shares per share was actually higher than it was the quarter before. So I don't know, but it's probably going to be releasing after March. So, but think about it this way, that it's something totally new instead of the same old stuff play with one character. It is a risk they take, and they know that, but it was a risk they were willing to take, and it's probably going to be, being the fanboy I am, it's probably going to be an amazing game.
See, I'm sort of a little bit concerned about the whole process with it, because, for example, the most recent game to try a similar sort of approach with that is obviously Resident Evil, and because of the brand of Resident Evil is pretty much why Resident Evil sold so well. But I just wonder if we've taken that sort of approach that Resident Evil had done and put that into a new IP, a new franchise, and seeing what the response would be, because it's hard to gauge whether gamers like that ability to have choice in those sorts of situations. It's hard to gauge whether they're responding very well to it because of the brand itself. And I think, it's inevitable, regardless of whether GTA 5 is good or not, it's going to sell. And we won't ever truly get to the bottom of it, of whether that game dynamic works.
Yeah, I don't know yet, because we don't know a lot about it, so I think it's a little bit early to go and judge, like, oh no, the protagonist, because we only know what their hobbies are, what kind of friends they have, and what you can do with them. There's nothing real in-depth yet, because I actually was a bit disappointed with the Game Informer, because most of those pages were just how they went to work with it, and actually I took note of all the details, and it's actually not even a page long, which is kind of like, we've been waiting for this for like a week, a month, and there's nothing. I expected a lot more, because if you're going to say 18 pages of brand new information, you would expect to be having much more.
No, absolutely, I agree. So just to switch it up a bit then, and sort of move on with GTA 5. One of the impressions that I got from the Game Informer article that also sort of made me a little bit worried about the progress of the game is the focus on heist. And constantly, as you mentioned before, similar to the previous DLC for GTA 4, is the focus on the characters performing heists. What worries me about that slightly is that could get pretty repetitive. I mean, I know there's obviously probably 100 different ways within the game that you could perform a heist, but at the end of the day, it's still essentially doing the same mission just in different ways, and I wonder if that will get quite old quite fast. Again, what do you guys think about that?
I don't think it will be like only heist altogether, but probably like you got a bank job to do, you got to get a fan for that, you gotta need the weapons for that. So I think there will be focus on the heist itself, but there will be in the beginning. What they said is that in the beginning I think they didn't meet each other yet, so we will see that they meet each other first and then get to know each other, and then they slowly build up towards the heist, I think. But
yeah. So graphically, I mean, what does everyone think of it so far? Having looked at the screenshots and so on.
Looks good.
We're liking the new art style.
I do.
It is beautiful. I cannot stop dreaming about it.
I tell you though, I mean, what you're saying about, like, the depth of it. I think what Gtamen is pointing out is you could have a heist, but if you really think about that, if you did it right, you could do it where there's a lot more elements involved in a heist, because while each is in its grassroots, it's just a theft. You could have the need to get specialized equipment. You could have the need to stake out the scene. Even as far as, like, well, you've got to pay off to let you in a certain door at a certain time, or I mean, you could take it and make a heist very in depth, and you could make it very different every time. And without having played the game, I guess we got to give it a chance, because I mean, it sounds almost like they've made it a bigger world, and you can't imagine that they're going to cut, like, girlfriends and hanging out and phone calls to your friends for backup and just go with heists and not have a shit ton of content, because if they put a much bigger world and then they focus only on heists, I think they would very clearly know that formula wouldn't work out so much. So maybe there's a lot more story here in terms of what you need to pay attention to in each character, and maybe there's a lot of strategy involved in that, because that's the only thing that really makes sense for them to expand upon the area and then limit some of these other things down and change them so dramatically, because a lot of people, if you just did the same old thing as you did in GTA 4, made a bigger area and put a different character in there, everyone would be bitching that, you just cranked another title that's the same with little bit better graphics.
Yeah.
You'd start running into
That's
that Call of
pretty much
Duty
how
argument.
I was going to say that's pretty much how I felt with GTA 4, in the fact that, I appreciate that the graphics were updated and, had multiplayer in there, but in the grand scheme of things, until the DLC actually released for GTA 4, I didn't really think it was doing too much different from what had been in the previous Grand Theft Autos before it. And that was my one sort of massive disappointment with GTA 4 in that respect, because at the time when GTA 4 launched, it was bringing a game that had defined a generation into a new generation, and I felt that with GTA 4 they fell a bit flat with that, and didn't take too many risks, which is why, concerns aside, I'm kind of very intrigued with GTA 5, because they do seem to be taking a lot more risks than they perhaps did with GTA 4.
That's a good thing, I think, because to innovate, because it's, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's the first game to actually do such a thing. A big world with 3 different playable characters.
Open world probably, but no, I mean, I'm sure there's been games before it, things like Crackdown on the Xbox and stuff. It's just they've not been as perhaps maybe as popular because they don't offer the same sort of gameplay dynamics that a GTA has, in terms of being able to not only have an open world, a dynamic open world that's constantly moving, but also being able to interact with it. Like you saw in GTA 4, you were able to go on dates, play mini games. You sit in your apartment, you would watch the TV, and there was original content made for the game for that. It was probably the first in that respect, but not so much in terms of the whole open world, having being able to explore an open world.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm just sort of, I'm reading some of this as we talk. Actually, I've got some of the information here just as pointers as well, that stuff that'd be interesting, perhaps maybe for the listeners to sort of go over when they probably listen back to this podcast. But one of the things they pointed out here as well, we talked about the worry that they may get stuck into heists. But it does also mention in here, although it's only a small part of this article that was written by Game Informer, that they are looking to bring in dynamic missions. So, for example, in the same way that Red Dead Redemption did it, they're sort of going to bring some of that across into GTA 5. So if a drug bust goes wrong, if a drug deal goes wrong, for example, you can analyse how that went wrong, explore it, and follow that all the way through. In a similar sort of way to like the TV show, it makes a reference to the TV show Breaking Bad, but it's kind of hoping to bring those sorts of things in there, which I think, if that's the case, that sounds absolutely fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just having the drug deal go down, but really following it through to its conclusion, as opposed to it's gone bad, you failed the mission. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah. There's a lot of room here for really involving the stories with the people they deal with, but I guess a lot of it being unseen, it's just a real big hope that they've done it right, because one of the things about prior GTAs is like you have your friends, but then you're almost disconnected from everything else in terms of the story. you go and you shoot nameless so-and-so in the head, as your mission, and it's not, it's not as involved as could be in terms of story. So I guess it's just to see how that works, especially, from a trophy standpoint. Is it going to be where you've got to play through several times and befriend a certain group?
Yes, please.
That's the hope to make it even more entertaining for us, because that changes things too. But the dynamic there is it's pretty open, and you take on a big challenge anytime you do a world, but especially with story, because I mean, think about how challenging that's got to be to have everything kind of still happening in real time, but then put some urgency on going to the next mission or something.
Yeah, I think it would be great to actually have some more challenge in the GTA games. Of course, not besides Rocky or something, but you know.
Do you know what? I'd be happy if they just took pigeons out. Because nothing worse than having to go through and do all the pigeons. But I'm guessing, obviously, there's going to be collectibles. You know, sort of looking at it, it's great that they have such a massive open world. I still wonder this about San Andreas originally on PS2. What I found with that is it's all right having the ethos that bigger is better, but at the same time it's a problem that a game like Far Cry, for example, suffered from, in the fact that it's so big. You kind of get lost in it, and and that's not always a good thing. You can easily get lost in some of the stuff that you're doing, to the point of where you actually forget, that there are characters and a storyline to play with. Does that worry you guys about it at all?
I think it's actually like you never stop exploring, especially in a GTA where random events happen a lot. For
Yeah.
example, you go to all the way of the north, you see some bikers running around chasing a stripper or something, and you go to the south where you see some hobo trying to grab some food out of the trash can.
Well, that's where even though it's an open world, they're still kind of controlling the story a little bit by not necessarily forcing you to get involved, but like they're kind of directing it, and that has to happen. Or, I think what you're talking to, Dante, is some of those games where it's so open world, where it's like you go over here and it's like, well, you've got until tomorrow, you've got to do this, or so and so dies, and then you go and play the rest of the game in what amounts to months of actual time, and then you go back to that person and then they go, okay, you've got half a day left or something, and it kills the story when it doesn't mesh with all the different elements and stuff going in the same kind of direction in the same time frames. And as long as they don't have that occurring, then I think they'll be all right. But GTA, obviously, from just like what he was just saying, they obviously direct you in some of the right places, with particularly the phone before, where you had that call like, hey man, you've got to do this, or or you tried to call too soon and it's like, well, I'm busy right now, and you get a message. So they have to really control that, I guess, one way or another.
Yeah. I was going to say, if they cut that back with the phone integration, it'll be interesting to see how they supplement it.
Yeah.
So, go on.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting stuff how they're going to do it, because we know very few yet, because the Game Informer didn't give too much away. They gave some away, but not too much. So, but IGN is also going to release more information, they said, from tomorrow, and Game Informer has its own page where they're going to drop more information, and then Wednesday is the new trailer. About the trailer, Rockstar will announce the time when the trailer goes live. I think it will be at the same time they did last time, so it will be 5 p.m. GMT, which will be 12 for you Eastern Standard Time folks.
So,
I hope that this trailer focuses more on what the missions are going to be and who the characters are. And maybe a little bit of multiplayer, because actually I think that single player is going to be good. I'm not worried about that, but I'm really curious how they're going to do the multiplayer, because in the Game Informer there was no information about the multiplayer yet, unfortunately.
Well, at this moment in time, we can only really speculate on the multiplayer. Obviously, we know that the cruise system from Max Payne is coming across, and that'll be implemented on multiplayer. But as I say, we can only really sort of speculate. So rather than sort of try and cover what we know about the multiplayer, we should probably, ask what would you want from the multiplayer. And I sort of pose that question to both of you guys. What would you want to see from Grand Theft Auto 5's multiplayer?
Red Dead Redemption beginning in free roam. Yes, please. Think about it. You got Los Santos, bigger than GTA 4, Red Dead Redemption, and San Andreas combined. Imagine just having that as a free roam playground. You don't have to go to the airport anymore. Hell, you can just grab a car and just drive everyone over, or you can just go to, let's say you can go to Grove Street and go play some Gang Wars, for example. Something like that, like they did in Red Dead Redemption, like go to the, let's just say go to the small town and start up a deathmatch when everyone says, look, oh yeah, I would like to play that, press a button, and go play deathmatch with the people that are in the free roam, and the people that don't want that, well, they stay in free roam. Or you can just go, what I really hope they do is that they do the matchmaking like they did in Max Payne 3. Because that was actually better than GTA 4 when everyone has to be ready, because there's always this one guy that tries to be funny and is the host and say, no, we're not going to start yet, let me just change the settings to 1 hour because nobody had something better to do with their lives.
And I got what you're saying. What would you want to see from multiplayer, KD?
Well, I think it's important for them to keep a lot of the unique game modes because one of the things I really like about GTA is that it's not just shooting. You can go and you can race and you can do. I just like to see a lot of that. That's important to me. They have to keep that stuff and expand upon it.
Do you know what's intriguing about both your answers? That neither of you mentioned zombies. Because obviously as we...
Zombies.
Get out of here!
No, but think about it, right? Most multiplayer games these days have zombies in them. And I do wonder, like for example... I'm just hypothesising here, but for example, like Nick mentioned about, having an open free roam world, to launch the multiplayer, and I do wonder if you had some sort of zombie mode version of that where you could literally just go anywhere and sort of did something along those lines. I think that would be pretty cool. Obviously, I know that Rockstar probably want to stray away from that, but I don't know. I think that would be quite cool.
Well, a mode that would be neat. A mode that would be neat in a big open world like that is just like making it so that the people on the street are not just innocent victims, but make them like everyone's gun-toting, like a World War III kind of. The granny, you start to run granny over, but she pulls that RPG out and blows your car out of hell or something. It doesn't have to be zombies all the time. I mean, zombies are, in my opinion, zombies are overplayed. I'm getting zombied out.
If it's a mini game, then it's alright.
Yeah. I don't know. For me personally, I think with GTA 5 multiplayer, I just want it to work, and I don't want it to be a monotonous grind either.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if everybody's doing
the problem I found with GTA 4 The problem I found with GTA 4 is that while it has some unique modes, I still feel like the selection of game modes that you have to play online is still not enough. So it needs a hell of a lot more variety in terms of modes, whether that means stick an equivalent horde mode in there, or tie it into, having to pull off X amount of heists in X amount of time as a co-op challenge between you and your friends. And I think that's the other thing that GTA 5 will need for me, really, is that, okay, you've got 3 protagonists in the main storyline, but I would like them to see them do something that involves co-op. GTA 4 only briefly sort of touched upon doing some co-op missions, but I feel that it does need more co-op implemented. It has to be important. I think, from all the information we've had from Game Informer that sort of really focuses on the single player stuff, I do really hope that they've worked hard with this multiplayer, because it needs to, not only does it need to be on a bigger scale, i.e. same sort of size scale that they put into the story, but it also needs to be able to work, because even now, certainly on PS3, I'm not quite sure about the Xbox version, but even now GTA 4 still suffers a lot of issues with the multiplayer, with perhaps the exception of DLC, and they still haven't gotten around to patching that. I think Rockstar really needs to start sort of focusing more on that, because essentially this may, again, hypothesising and looking further down the road, this may be the last single-player GTA that we get, because as technology and consoles go forward into the next generation, it's going to be all about the online experience.
I don't like you anymore. So, why Rockstar did multiplayer once with GTA?
Yeah.
Now they're going to do it in the second time. Explain to me, why would they drop the single player stuff?
Well,
It's not GTA anymore. GTA is about mocking Americans, mocking actually the whole world, mocking politics, everything. It's about the single player experience. Everyone buys GTA for the single player experience.
But let me bring an example up for this to sort of explain, the kind of argument I'm trying to make. It's like with the Elder Scrolls, for example. The Elder Scrolls is a single-player RPG. People will play that for the single-player aspect of it. But Bethesda have also cottoned on to the fact that at some point everybody's gaming device is going to be connected online, and as gaming goes forward, more and more people get involved with the online aspect of it, which is why Bethesda have now bankrolled doing a Elder Scrolls Online MMO. Grand Theft Auto being the game it is, with an expansive open world, if there's any game that you're going to make fully online, that is the perfect type of game to do it. But whether or not they would be able to do it successfully is another thing. We've seen games in the past that have tried that with that game. All Points Bulletin, which tried that sort of thing and bailed, and games like The Matrix Online, which wasn't a failure, it just didn't have great subscriber numbers, but it still went on for 11 years. And as time goes on, we are getting towards that point where all our games will essentially need an online connection. And so I do wonder, if this is, as I said to you before, that was the point I was trying to make, if Grand Theft Auto, in order for it to keep up with the times and sort of move forward after GTA 5, it's going to have to do something like that to go fully online.
Well, I think they will do a good job with it, and I think it will be great. But they said in Game Informer that they have no plans for that yet.
And you're talking about a very expansive game too, so I think there's a lot more to be said. There's a lot more opportunity there to do a nice multiplayer than how many titles do you have with like a Call of Duty where the single player story is a couple of hours in length at most, and then you look at GTA where even with the grinds and all that I'm not necessarily a fan of, you still have a pretty big game there. And with doing the large world that they're doing, this is multiplayer. It's definitely, they have a lot of opportunity, I think, to very easily switch to just a huge, comprehensive multiplayer system.
Yeah, I think that would appeal to. I think that would appeal to a lot of people as well. I mean, we only have to look at the game that's coming out on Tuesday to show how much online has changed in attracting people. Back in the day when people used to pick up first-person shooters, online wasn't really a big thing unless you were sort of a PC gamer. Now it's absolutely mandatory to the point where people will spend £40 or $60 on a game just for the multiplayer.
They never even touch the single player. Yeah.
Exactly, and Rockstar have to sort of bear this in mind going forward from when GTA 5 launches. They're going to have to bear that in mind for progression of the series.
Do you think that's do you think that's a downfall? I can't hear you guys. I was going to say, do you think that's a downfall of first-person shooters, or do you think it's going to be encompassing all games? Because I always would think that RPGs and stuff like that are going to be stuck on. They're going to be kind of on the cusp of that for at least a little while longer compared to a Call of Duty or something like that, where multiplayer is going to become much. It's going to happen much more faster for them than a GTA.
Shooters are easy to pick up. Just plug in, search for the match, just play.
Yeah, because I mean that's the point. You've got an objective.
An RPG, if you go to do a multiplayer for that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You've got an objective with any game that involves shooting, because you've got an objective in that another player that's online is a target and is a protagonist for you, and you've got you don't have that with an RPG as often. Like if you look at something that Bethesda did recently, like a Skyrim. You would either be competing for resources, or it would just be like a first-person shooter style in terms of, you'd be having a magic or a bow and arrow fight or something with another person online. It doesn't make as much sense in those contexts. And I think GTA, from what they've done in the past, with all the different elements and stuff that they have with calling on the phone and friendships and getting backup and doing robberies and stuff, they have the ability to both have it a shooting type, but then also more the co-op style. So maybe they're not as likely to get pulled into that, where multiplayer is so important. But I think they've got a lot more resources to make it even 10 times more appealing for the multiplayer if they tend to expand in that direction.
I do think it's something we will see more of. In other games, in other genres. I think it's not so much the first person shooters have sort of invented the way of thinking, and it's more a case of they seem to be pushing it through faster, and as a result, a lot of designers and developers are sort of cottoning on to what they're doing and saying, we've really got to start taking these things into consideration. And it's not just the fact that, as I say, first-person shooters aren't really responsible, but they are helping to push the changes forward faster. But it's also mainly the fact that it's resonating with gamers. If a game sells 16 million, which is the average sales roughly on a yearly basis for a Call of Duty, developers are more inclined to go and dissect that game to see what they're doing successfully and try and implement it in their chosen genre. And as I say, this comes back to the whole Bethesda Skyrim thing and the Elder Scrolls. Gamers have been the games that have asked for online options in the past have been in a minority. But because Bethesda can see the success that someone like Activision's having with online aspects of Call of Duty, and how many people are putting hours into it, how many people are playing storylines, as opposed to the multiplayer, it's in someone like Bethesda's best interest to go, right, well, it may cost us $60 million, but we can charge a subscription, we can look at putting the entire game online and bleeding genres together to create, a product for itself. And that's the other thing that you will see more of going forward, because for things to go online, there is going to be a lot of bleed through to each different type of genre. You will see first-person shooters online get a more RPG feel to them. You'll see fighting games, for example, get more RPG elements to them, and so on. It'll be interesting to see where Grand Theft Auto fits in all of that, because essentially Grand Theft Auto at its core game is already a mishmash of quite a lot of genres already.
Yeah. Well, to make a nice little loop, talking about RPG elements, there won't be any like gaining and losing weight in GTA 5, but there will be lots of customization for the look of your character. Like Dante can wear his Gundam style t-shirt, and I can wear my Metallica t-shirt.
And so what would I wear?
Or my t-shirt would say, why do people listen to Gangnam Style? I think Kryptonite Dragon will wear a Black Ops 2 t-shirt, because I don't really know too much about you, so just go ahead with that.
I know exactly what it would be. It would be a police officer. It would be a monkey dressed up as a police officer.
Yeah, I want a monkey suit, and then a police uniform on the outside of that. There you go.
Straight away, that's what. Yeah, absolutely.
Monkeys are funny.
So I think we pretty much. True. I think we pretty much dissected GTA 5 as much as we can at the moment, until obviously the new trailer hits next week, and obviously we've seen more from IGN and Game Informer. But there was some more GTA-related news that we had recently. The guys at the news team deliberately chose not to cover this, not because it's exciting, but at the same time, we knew this podcast was coming up, so we thought we'd cover it. So I'm going to sort of get Nick to tell you a bit more information on this, which is in regards to the Vice City 10th anniversary.
Yeah, GTA 5 City was celebrating its 10th anniversary on October 29th. So it's like a couple of weeks back. The GTA 5 City 10th anniversary version will release on the Android and iOS devices. Further details will be announced later, but I think those details will come, I think, Friday, because then the trailer has been, and everyone has been cooling down and went, oh my god, GTA 5! And then they can jump onto another hype train for GTA 5 City. Because GTA 3, the mobile version of that, is still the best-selling mobile game of Take-Two. So it is a thing that I think they're going to release it, I think, around December.
Cool.
So, just coming to that, like, because we covered this cup when we were last on the show with this Gtamen, which is about the Rockstar HD collection, which encompassed quite a few games. What I'm intrigued at is that Rockstar have seen fit to do a HD collection for games that have been out, a year, 2, 3 years maybe, but they still are taking games like the GTA 3 and Vice City, porting them into HD and then putting them on mobile platforms. What annoys me about that is that I'm all for them taking their intellectual property and dispersing it as much as they want, but they kind of seem to have forgotten their roots a little bit because, essentially those two games, when they released on PS2, back in the days of the PS2, they were big hits for Rockstar because of Sony's support of the PS2. And so when you take into account the amount of HD collections that we get these days, surely the best way to celebrate those anniversaries is bring it to those consoles where they're fondly remembered and introduce it to a new audience. I just can't fathom why the preference is to put it on iOS and Android platforms but forget about its console roots.
Well, for example, GTA San Andreas sold 18 million copies on the PS2 overall already. So I think it would be kind of pointless, but on the other hand, I would love to see it.
But would you not prefer to say, just looking at this, ignore the trophies and achievements for just a minute, would you rather play on a 4 to 5 inch screen, a big open world title, or would you rather see it on your big screen at home where, because those games were built on the idea of big screens, high definition. Just the technology at the time, they couldn't do it. So now that the technology is now more available with this generation of consoles, it's crazy that they're not fathering enough to they're not feeling out their audience and going, yeah, we'll release it on PSN or XBLA for like £15 or $20 or whatever. Because I'll be honest with you, if they did that, if they released it on those formats and charged me 15 quid, I'd quite happily buy them, and I would really enjoy going through it and tracking and doing all the trophies on it and revisiting my past. But I'd also know people that have never played those games that would also take the plunge as well.
How old are they?
What, the people I know?
No, the people that haven't played that.
You'd be surprised, mate. There's a lot of people I know that have never touched certain games like Final Fantasies or Kingdom Hearts, even at their age, and they've been gaming for a good 10 years, so...
Have they been living under a rock?
Probably.
Because I was 10 years old when I started playing GTA San Andreas. That kind of changed me into an aggressive guy, but let's just not go into that too much.
That's not a debate to have, really. But I don't know, I just think, especially with the way the gaming's increased now, I mean, PS2 sold like 128 million units, probably more today. You think PS3 is roughly around about the 65 million mark. Xbox 360 is around about the 70 million mark, and then there's
35 million, because the rest is all broken.
That's a fanboyism debate there, but yeah, and then you take into account the Wii as well. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily count that myself, but that's like nearly 200 million or something ridiculous. So that's like 300 million, and that's not including people that play Facebook games. There's a whole new audience out there that, regardless of age, that in the past may have never played a games console, that are now taking the plunge, and it just seems strange that they don't want to release it on every platform possible.
Well, maybe they're testing the waters.
Allow people,
there's gaming's becoming very complicated, Dante. When you think about it, though, it's going to get more and more difficult for these companies to expand in any one particular area without having a very dedicated part of their business being towards getting it working on a different platform, or revamping it for even HD and stuff. But if you look at gaming is becoming very complex. It's starting to involve a lot of stuff with phones. You're getting crossovers and stuff now with television and your phone for extra content, and that's happening with phones, and you're getting games that are coming out that are EVE Online, which is played on a computer, interacting, with Dust. What is it, 518 or whatever the number is for it? I mean, these things are
That's 514, yeah.
these things are becoming more and more, complex in how they're interwoven, and I think that the gaming studios are still trying to figure out how to, branch into these other areas. So, that may just be something they're kind of testing the waters in that, you know, because to jump in with both feet, you think about it, that's a pretty big commitment.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, but still, that's something they've known about for many years, though, the complexities in the way it's going to change. I mean, Sony Online Entertainment had, for the longest time, a game that they were in the process of doing, which was called The Agency, which was basically a spy...
Spy versus spy. Yeah.
Spy versus spy third-person shooting game with micromanagement and sort of SimCity style gameplay put into it. But the cool thing that sort of sold people on that idea of it was that if you stepped away from your games console, for example, and one of your spy operatives got caught that you'd sent out on a mission, you would get a text message to your phone saying, "We have your operative, what do you want us to do? If you want to text us A or B, A if you want us to kill him, or B if you're willing to pay the ransom." That concept's pretty cool, and even now we're seeing more, especially with the Vita, with the AR card integration and Watch Dogs with its QR code integration. So I get what you're saying about them testing the waters, but they've known these complexities are going to be about for a while, and Rockstar being the company that it is, and Take-Two, I can't believe that they would not already know about that and allow for that, and that they would need to test the water. I mean, that's essentially like saying they would need to test the water for a new Grand Theft Auto game, and if they don't, they know it's going to sell regardless of any complexities. So they need to, essentially, they need to still go back and, make money off their existing projects, the things they've done in the past, because for every success that a publisher has, there's probably about 3 or 4 games that they've spent upwards of $20 million that get cancelled. And, I don't know, for me it just seems weird that, the fans are asking for it on PSN and XBLA, and why not give them to them? Why go down a different route with phones and Android when essentially, phones and Android and iOS are going to be important in games going forward, but you still need to be able to go back to your roots, especially.
But if you're looking for clearly technology that you can pretty much guarantee is going to be involved with video games, it's a cell phone, and probably in GTA 6 you're probably going to be able to dial on your real phone and call in backup.
Yeah, that would be.
I mean it's.
But I don't know. I'm just trying to make the point of even with technology going forward and the complexities of the way the gaming industry is these days, they still need to have those roots. I mean, just this week, a game that I used to play on the old Amiga 500 that many people may or may not know, called Elite. That is being brought forward into this generation, and they've improved it. They're going to bring it to hopefully to consoles as well as PC. But they've now got the technology to produce the game they want. But at the same time, in a lot of press that they've done regarding the fact that they've announced they're going to go back and start working on this, a lot of the interest will be drawn from the roots bits of the original game. And I'm pretty certain that those people that are interested in the new game, Elite Dangerous, would purchase a revamped HD version of the original, because it's kind of nostalgia to a certain degree. And in that respect, some people may think it's a bit shameful in terms of business practice, but companies need fans to be nostalgic because it's important in terms of selling continuing to make money on their existing properties, but also getting gamers interested for their future properties as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think HD collections are good for multiple things. One, trophies, obviously. Two, achievements. Three, just a nostalgic thing. And actually, like, for example, I think a good example is the Hitman collection that's coming out. I myself never played Hitman before, but I'm getting Hitman Absolution. And I think it's great to actually know what you are going to be playing before you're going to play the new episode of the series. For example, like Halo, I know it's not PS3 related, but it has this whole story of what happened. And if you have a HD collection of that, then you will know what happened in the previous game.
Yeah, essentially it boils down to money. I mean, as we go forward, as we mentioned, technological advancements are going to require a lot more investment from companies. Can companies really afford to leave games that would easily sell 5-6 million and have sold 5 or 6 million? Can they afford to leave them on the shelf? Because essentially the money they make from HD collections is a license to print it. And while some people might not necessarily agree with that license to print money, at the same time that money then goes back into the companies, and we see the companies stick around. I mean, look at how easy it is for a huge company to fall down. Just this week, THQ are practically begging for more investment at the moment because they're in danger of going under.
Maybe they shouldn't have made Saints Row. Yeah. No, I'm not saying that Saints Row is a bad company and stuff, but like Red Faction Armageddon and Red Faction really are games that I enjoyed. Saints Row 2 was a good game as well. Saints Row 3 is just god-awful. But it's a shame to see a company go down like that. I don't have many games of them, but the games that I play, I enjoy.
I mean, THQ in the past have made some great games. Don't ask me to name off the top of my head, but of late, Darksiders 2, and you look at sort of THQ's entire back catalogue of titles, and you wonder, how many of those could have done with a $10 million investment to up them into HD, that then go on to sell 2 or 3 million copies a pop. Then that raises a couple of £100 million, and the publisher gets to stay in the market. We've looked at this before in respect of like Activision, for example. If Call of Duty ever sort of starts to fail in terms of sales, what would Activision do? Because Activision would be in the same position. At some point, they would have to go back. And HD collections and revisiting old games is a great way to ensure that the publisher doesn't have to do it out of necessity. It can ensure that they secure themselves financially. And I haven't seen too many gamers online that have complained a lot about having the opportunity to buy a HD remake, at a fraction of the original cost. And have the opportunity to go back and play it, which, coming back to the whole GTA thing, is why it surprises me that Rockstar, being the intelligent, clever folks, seem to be ignoring this a little bit.
Well, I mean,
I got a question for you. Hasn't Call of Duty been making HD remakes all the time?
I know what he's getting at. But Dante, that begs the question though. It's like going back to what I was saying. If you were them and you had a choice between, let's do a rehit of our something that's already been released for a lot less money and do an HD remake, re-release it again, or do we expand into this different realm of technology where in the future we can expand upon that by going to, say, phones, and then, that gives us the opportunity with, GTA 6 to use some of that stuff that we learned to improve that game, then you see what I'm saying there? I think in terms of a company picking a direction and picking technology, they've got to make hard choices like that sometimes, because there's not money to do everything as an HD remake. There's not money to do that and take on a new area. Because you think about a company, if they're used to making games on a PS3, and now all of a sudden you say, well, you got to go back and work with this game that you guys didn't develop, that was a PS2 game, but you got to make it work on the PS3. That could be a pretty big challenge. You're not talking about the same people working on the same game again. You're talking about somebody that's familiar with a completely different system and trying to redo it. So,
to give you an example of some of the success sort of stories where that has happened, I mean, you only have to look at someone like Sad Water, who had great success with the Abe's Odyssey, Strath, and obviously other projects they've got on the go. Bar the sort of main management team, none of those guys worked on the original titles, but they strived to form a company with the original directors and the guys behind the games to get them involved, but they're not actively, the original guys are not actively involved in the programming or the coding, but as a result, the way their sort of logic is that, they want to bring us to a new audience, they want to do the HD side of it, because then they get the money come back, which allows them to invest and then explore the opportunities and new IPs. Now that's just one particular company. I see what you're saying about technology investment, but at the same time, Rockstar can have their cake and eat it in that respect. If they want to go down the route of, implementing phones and new technologies, they can do that, but the money has to come from somewhere. And the question is, can they rely on their existing projects to generate that revenue, or do they need revenue coming from elsewhere? And quite frankly, a company like Rockstar can afford to do both.
Yeah.
Which is why it becomes a strange decision as to why you would release it on iPhone, OS and Android, but not to the millions of people where it's recognisable, more recognisable than phone platforms.
Yeah, but I think too there's a lot of opportunity to do this in a lot of areas, not just HD remakes. Consider Call of Duty. If you released every map, redid every map from the Call of Duty series and released it as a map pack, for Call of Duty Black Ops 2. If you did something like that, I mean, do you not think that would be a serious money generator? But you're still talking about they've got a dedicated crew to go and rework them to work with, what's essentially a new platform.
Yeah.
So
Essentially, they're banking on something that they know has already been successful, so the investment's a no-brainer. I can understand it if it was something that hadn't been successful in the past. If, say, for example, you're going to do a HD remake of an unknown game, and it's not going to resonate with existing or new gamers, then you know that in advance. So you're right in that respect that you wouldn't necessarily put the investment, but like as you mentioned there, an example being Call of Duty, getting all the maps from previous Call of Duty games, revamping them, and then setting them out for release to the point of where they're compatible with the new product. The investment in a crew and a team to do that would pay for itself tenfold, because they already know that those things have been successful in the past, and that by the sales of the new product, they know that people are going to want them. So again, from a business perspective, it's really a no-brainer.
Mm-hmm.
But I can understand it if it's a product that's not been successful. I mean, I'm just trying to think some of the games that I've played in the past on PS2 that have never seen a HD remake, perhaps maybe an RPG, for example, like Shadow Hearts or something along those lines. That HD remake, I can't imagine that resonate with a lot of gamers, because while it's a great game, it wasn't particularly successful.
Well, I think there's probably a lot more complex to it, because the other thing is, who do you pay, and who do you with certain things like that, like you just Call of Duty, just thinking about it, you've got two different development studios and that have changed around. So you wonder where where the credit goes towards the future monies. There's a lot of stuff there that we're probably not thinking about too. That would be a consideration.
So maybe that's something we need to revisit again on another show.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ask you guys out straight outright. Although I know what Gtamen's answer is going to be, but if there was any game in the world that you could remake into HD for current generation, what would it be?
Hannah Montana.
Yeah, that's already in HD, mate.
Oh, well, there was a PS2 version of World at War. That can be done in HD. No. Well, apart from GTA, never mind. I didn't play anything else on my PS2.
He's like, apart from GTA, are there other video games?
Seriously, when I was 10 years old, I started playing GTA, and up until I got my PS3, I actually didn't play anything else. But then I had Uncharted Drake's Fortune with it. And I played around with it a little because I bought my PS3 before the release of GTA 4. So I played it a little bit, and I actually liked it. But then, of course, GTA came out. I played that for a full year.
So, anything that you'd want to see HDified, so to speak, KD?
No, I've been told we just went offline from Twitch, but there's not even anything really I can think of. I've played so many games through my lifetime that I'd like to see some old computer games come to console. I played an MMORPG called Ultima Online. I'd love to see come to a console.
Yeah.
But other than that, I don't know. There's a lot of things that I loved as a kid that were just very simple graphics, even as far back as Atari. So it's hard to imagine doing a Pitfall or something like that in an HD, because it would be a pretty far stretch.
I don't know. See, I'm opposite to you guys. I think that there's a whole ton of games that just are begging out for remakes that had quite a lot of success to start out, but then sort of seem to have been slowly forgotten about as we've progressed through the generations. Probably one of those bigger ones, which I hope Sony are working on, as per rumoured, is Siphon Filter. I really, really would love to see a HD either remake or a brand new Siphon Filter game. One game that I've been playing on my PS1 classics that I'd love to see the return of is Fear Effect. I don't know if you guys remember that game.
A little bit.
It was sort of like an action stroke survival horror type game set in modern day, but it was known for a lot of controversy because it challenged a lot of taboos to do with homosexuality.
For GTA?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
No, it would have been around about the same time in terms of PS1 games, but it was one of the first PS1 games to actually have multiple discs, aside from Final Fantasy. So I'd love to see Siphon Filter and Fear Effect make a reappearance in HD or even just new versions of the game. But I'm intrigued by your answers, and I do think we probably should put out a question when we post the podcast up on the forums later on tonight. I'd be interested to see what the community say in terms of whether A, they're for HD remakes, and B, what they would like to see.
That's a good poll. The other thing, we need to find a name for our podcast still, and I'm going to propose Gameaholics is the only thing that really comes to mind. You seem to like that.
I do. That's good. That's a good one.
Or Needs More GTA. One of the two.
Guys, I think I have a breaking news thingy.
Go for it.
Because my my Twitter just popped up with that there's an actual countdown for the next trailer. That it will be live at this time, Wednesday at this exact time.
Awesome.
That's nice.
I'll have to check that out.
It's not on the official site yet, and I don't know if it's on the Rockstar Newswire. I'm checking it right now.
Well, Dante, make sure maybe over the next week we can update your thread about this podcast with those kind of things that are released. We'll just keep an eye out for that. The more news, the better.
I'll let you know if it gets confirmed.
Awesome.
Well,
thank you, man. Appreciate that.
Just to drag people into the whole podcast naming side of things, I have been monitoring the threads that we've done with podcasts over the past couple of weeks, and I am aware of some of the names we've got, and I'll be throwing in Gameaholics, but I really do want people to get on board and suggest a name for it, because essentially we do the podcast for the site and for the community, so we need that integration where the community are involved with it. And so what I'm sort of proposing as it is at the moment is that if we get enough suggestions, we need to get a poll up by this week in terms of timing for our 10th show. So what I will do is I will collate all the answers, run a poll, and whoever's suggestion then becomes the name of the podcast going forward from show 10. I will actually organise a very special prize for the person that made that suggestion. I'm not going to tell you what the prize is at the moment, but I will organise something extra special for the person that makes the suggestion. So, there's an incentive for the community to get behind finding us a name.
Let me guess, I cannot enter.
You can enter.
Sure, why not?
Okay.
Yeah, the other thing, it'd be nice to, encourage people to watch us live. We are doing a live show, and that is important to us. And if we're getting hundreds of people watching us after the fact, that's not quite as good. So maybe we need to just kind of find out what's the best way people want to see us. If they're watching us after the fact, and we can't get past these technical difficulties, and maybe we'll have to change something there too. Because it's definitely a challenge. I don't know what else we can try, but we need to get a nice clear signal going without drops. And I certainly think we could record this offline and do it, and have a much easier to listen to show. So maybe
that's actually a better idea. Just do this stuff offline.
And maybe we'll need to do that, but I'd like to hear from people if they like to see us live, or if they are all watching us after the fact, because we'll get 65 views on YouTube, and we'll get 25 views on iPhone, and all this stuff. I just kind of like to hear also maybe if we could hear from everyone how they like to listen to us, if it's live or if they're listening to us on iTunes later. If we could get something like that too, it would be great.
Well, Phil, I'll put a feeler out within the post later on tonight, and just see if we can get some active discussion going on that later.
Cool. And thank you, Gtamen, for all your input. I'm a fan of GTA myself. I've played the GTA series all the way through on PS2 and PS3. I knew you would be. So I really truly am looking forward to it. Can I count on you to help me squeeze out to there's probably a trophy or two involving grinding out millions of dollars. Can I count on you to help me with that?
Well, I'm working on my 360 to get to 1,000 gamer score, so that will be the third time. So I think you're not the only guy asking that. So when GTA 5 comes out, I'm probably going to get it. An enormous amount of messages saying, I still get messages from people I don't even know where they're coming from, like, hey, how you doing? And then I ask them, hey, how are you? It's always the second message saying, please help me with Fly the Co-op. And after I help them with Fly the Co-op because I was in a good mood, and yes, that does not happen a lot, Dante. The question after that is, Hey, I'm only a level rank 1. Could you please help me get wanted? Delete from friend list.
Yeah, just simply help me get wanted.
Yeah,
Couple
it
minutes,
only
just help me
takes
get
like
it.
50 to 80 hours.
Yeah.
You're probably a guy that doesn't play anything else because, well, you're GTA man, you have 60 platinums, you don't play anything else but GTA. Mm-hmm. But I was just going to say, now you see why we have you on the show as our resident GTA expert. But just before we do end the podcast, I just want to point out that Nick does have a YouTube channel. He does a lot of thoughts on GTA as well. So we'll post the link in the description of the podcast. Yeah. So go check out his channel. There's some funny GTA videos on there, but there's also Nick sharing his thoughts on the latest news with GTA. So if you're a massive fan of GTA, go and check out his YouTube channel. Well, if you're a fan of me or just a fan of gaming or anything, I just post every bit of news that comes out of GTA 5. Yep, mainly because I just get hyped and psyched for 3 hours after only a tiny
And if you're level 1, just post on there.
news gets out, just make a video.
If you're level 1, he will help you get the wanted trophy.
I dedicate some of my videos to all the good people on the PSN and Xbox Live saying, hey dude, I just started playing this game, I installed the game 2 seconds ago, let's go for one together. I'm like, sure dude, let's go. I don't got anything else to do. I don't got a job, I don't got school, I don't got a YouTube channel. Hell, I don't even got a website to write for. Let's go.
So the moral of the story to sum that up is, if you want to get your GTA 5 Platinum, make sure that when you do visit his YouTube channel and Twitter feeds that you book your place in now.
Book your place now.
Places.
Behind me, because I just called it. I just called it first.
25 euros.
Yeah. So to wrap up, is there anything else that we need
Nope.
to cover this week?
I don't think so.
No, well, I think that's us pretty much done then for me and this week.
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here today. Appreciate it.
No worries, as always, and hopefully we will carry on working on technical issues as well during the course of the week.
And please join us every Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Thank you for stopping by today, and everyone have a great day.
Peace.